Hey, what's going on everybody? Today I want to talk about the Avalon plugin, and I already did a video on this, but this is going to be a practical application. So I'm mixing a song right now and I used it on the lead vocal, and I really like how the compression in particular works on this particular song. And the Avalon is one of my favorite plugins and go-to plugins now, mostly because it has an EQ. Also, it has a compressor, phase inversion. It literally has everything all in one plugin. So this is sort of one of my favorite plugins. And yeah, I'm going to show you how I use it in this particular song. Alright, so I'm in Logic, and this is a song that I've been working on, and it's sort of like a R&B-ish singer-songwriter slash whatever type song, and I really like how the Avalon works on this song. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out and then I'm going to add it back in, so right off the bat you can really tell what it's doing. It's important to note I do have some other plugins on here, but the Avalon's just making it better, so I'm going to leave the other plugins on so that it doesn't sound completely muddy and you get a feel for the track.
Everything you say, everything you do, everything I say, it comes back to you. I've been dreaming about your love.
Alright, so you can tell it already sounds pretty good, but the Avalon, what it's doing is really bringing out certain frequencies. I use this to boost frequencies and cut frequencies at the same time over here on the right, and I'm actually compressing decently hard for this song, and I think it's really doing something cool. So let's just add it back in and hear what it's doing, and then I'll kind of break down what I did.
Everything you say, everything you do, everything I say, it comes back to you. I've been dreaming about your love. So do you love me, darling?
Now I'm going to play it again, and I want you to watch the gain reduction going on here and listen to how it's controlling the vocal.
Everything you say, everything you do, everything I say, it comes back to you. I've been dreaming about your love.
So like I said, it's really controlling the vocal. It's keeping it nice and compressed. I'm sort of singing quite loud on certain parts of it. So what it's doing is taking those high peaks and it's compressing them down to sound a little bit more even throughout. So the compression settings I'm using are, a normal 3:1 ratio basically. And I'm pulling this back to about 10 for the threshold. And I think that sounds really, really good. The attack, pretty fast attack, and I'm actually going to adjust this release and make it a little bit quicker because I don't want it to sound too compressed for too long. An important thing to note for this plugin, you have to click compressor in right here. Sometimes that's not clicked, and also for the metering, click GR. That means gain reduction. That's going to allow you to actually see the gain reduction happening in real time. Now, I have done a video on this before, but in that video, I'm actually breaking down every single button. In this one, I'm just going to be talking about the specific things that I did to make this vocal take a little bit better. Okay, so over on the EQ section, since this is later on in the chain, it's actually in the middle of the chain, but I've already done some EQ and compression, I am adding some things back in here, and I'm actually cutting a little bit more of the low end. And what I really like about this plugin is down below here, you're going to have the options to choose from your various frequencies. So over here, 15 to 150, 35 to 450. For the low mids, high mids, you have 220 to about 2.5K, and then you have 10K to 32K, and that's going to be your high frequencies. And for vocals, for the treble here, I usually keep it on 10 or 15. I just think it gives it like a shimmery sort of top end, and it sounds really nice. And I'm boosting that quite a bit, but I'm not worried because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll run it into a de-esser, and this is a Waves de-esser, which I tend to use a lot. I think it sounds really good, and it doesn't ruin the vocal and sort of compress it and de-ess too harshly, although if you drag it down it will. So like I said, over here I'm using 15K and I'm boosting this quite a bit, which is making the vocal sound very nice and shiny. And the high mids, I'm just boosting a little bit. I actually usually don't touch this all that much to boost stuff, but it is giving it a little bit more presence since there's so much going on in the song production wise. And I'm cutting more of the low end out, and I'm gonna actually solo this out and have you guys listen to what happens when I bring this low mid back in. It's really the low, around 200, which tends to be quite a muddy thing for a lot of people, but me included in that.
Everything you say, everything you do, everything I say, it comes back to you. I've been dreaming about your loving. So do you love me, darling?
So it sounds really good. Now let me reintroduce this sort of muddiness here.
Everything you say, everything you do, everything I say, it comes back to you. I've been dreaming about your loving. So do you love me, darling?
So you can tell that reintroduced some really muddy frequencies, and had I kept that in there with something like an 808 and a kick drum going, it sounds terrible. It really does, and I think it's important to be mindful of the frequencies, because that's what music is various frequencies. So you have to be aware of what you want in there and what sounds good, and then what should be cut. And in this instance, a lot of the instances, really, I cut that particular frequency because I think it sounds bad. Another important thing to note over here, I don't worry about the low end all that much. I'm boosting a little bit, but it really doesn't matter because over here I'm actually filtering this out. This is actually a filter to roll off some of the low end, usually around 100, and that's really good to do for vocals, guitars, stringed instruments, and stuff like that, to remove some of that low end that again is just sort of making it muddy. And over here on the left and right, I'm just adjusting the output in the input, the preamp gain over here accordingly, because sometimes it tends to boost everything up, and you have to be mindful of where it was at before as well. So I kind of just rolled that back a little bit to make it sound good. So let's listen one more time with it soloed out without it on at all, and then we're going to turn it back on.
Everything you say, everything you do, everything I say, it comes back to you. I've been dreaming about your loving. So do you love me, darling?
Now this is with it on.
Everything you say, everything you do, everything I say, it comes back to you. I've been dreaming about your loving. So do you love me, darling?
So that is the Avalon VT-737sp plugin by Universal Audio. I love this plugin. I think it sounds amazing. It's a really good emulation of the actual hardware, as are all of their plugins. And they're just all top tier sort of plugins in my opinion. And I've used a bunch of different plugins, and these are the best emulations in my opinion. So if you're thinking about getting it, I will put a link in the description. I don't get paid off of these or anything like that. I just really enjoy using them, and I use them in my own music. So I figured I'd do a video about this. So if you got something out of it, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing more videos like this, and releasing some music so you can actually tell whether or not, you know, it's good, well mixed or anything. So yeah, until next time guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace.